Hello, everybody. Actually, let me just mute everybody. There we go. Okay, so the speakers will need to unmute themselves. Oh, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Visionary Leaders Podcast. I'm Aisha Harley, and I'm one of the founders. And as usual, we are absolutely thrilled to have you with us here live or listening to the recording. You can join us every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time as we explore all things wellness, essential oils, and doTERRA. If you ever miss an episode live, you can catch up anytime on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. And please stay connected with us for signing up for our newsletter and text reminders at hellovisionary.life. Today is our Oils A to Z call, and we are excited to welcome Ariana Harley with our esteemed healthcare practitioners, Louise Rose, naturopathic physician, Mica Carew, naturopathic physician and licensed acupuncturist, and Will Wan, licensed acupuncturist. Today, they will guide us through an insightful exploration of Osmanthus, the oil of courageous beginnings, which is so appropriate for the new year. Ariana, I'll pass the call on over to you.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be sharing about Osmanthus. As I was saying earlier, it is one of my personal favorite fragrances. If you're not familiar, there is notes of apricot and leather, and I'll share some of the blends it's in. Osmanthus is also known as the oil of gentleness, which I also believe is really needed in our world right now. So kindness, gentleness for ourselves and for our world, all living beings, I think Osmanthus's energy could be very readily accepted. So if you have Osmanthus, I invite you now to go ahead and smell it. It was available. It's not readily available from doTERRA. It was available as a promo last year. It's also included in our convention kits. If you see it come up again, get some. It's really, really a special oil. It's very rare. It's hard to source. So you definitely want it in your collection. And you want to be using it. If you don't have it, you could grab Deep Blue, our beautiful hydrating body mist, or our beautiful blend, our Balance, our Brave, our Arise. If you have an old bottle of Elevation kicking around, that's also not available, but some of us still have it, or our Console blend. So you can pick up notes of Osmanthus in those blends. And if you are joining us, you will, if you're joining us and seeing the slide, you will be seeing a picture of Osmanthus. If you're listening to the podcast, Osmanthus is a very small flower. It is kind of a creamy white. It's also been, I've seen it in yellow, or it's kind of a creamy yellowish white, depending on the variety. If you're familiar with plants, it reminds me of Daphne or lilac. It is in the similar fragrance family as well. And it is a little shrub. So that is what the plant looks like if you haven't seen it. And also, I just wanted to talk about, where does it come from? I'm really excited to have Will Wan on the call today. He's going to be talking about the traditional Chinese medicine uses of Osmanthus. And I know in China, Osmanthus has been used for probably thousands of years as a tea. And it is, I believe, used in Chinese medicine as well. We'll see. So there's a long history there. It comes from East Asia. As I mentioned, it's a small evergreen shrub or a small tree, and it is in the same botanical family as jasmine and lilac. The complex aroma of Osmanthus is rich, sweet, uniquely fruity. The main chemical constituent found in Osmanthus extract is trans beta ion. You may recognize the smell of Osmanthus as it's often used in perfumes and fragrances. And it is, Osmanthus absolute is extracted from the flower of the plant. The blossoms are too delicate for steam distilling. And so this is one of those oils like rose or jasmine. It is hard to produce. It's just kind of a sacred, really, really special oil. A fun fact about it is that it's labor intensive and expensive to produce and often used in perfumes. The complex aroma of osmanthus, as we mentioned, is sweet and fruity with touches of apricot, pear, and leather. And I'm going to hand the call now to Dr. Louise Rose. We always separate these calls into body, mind, and spirit. And that is a way to kind of unpack and dive into all that these plants have to offer. So when we speak of the body, we speak of the more physical uses that we might want to use osmanthus for. And we also acknowledge that there really is no separation between the body, the mind, and the spirit, but it's a great way to break up our calls.
Beautiful. Thank you for that wonderful introduction about this exotic and intoxicating fragrance, osmanthus. I found it interesting to learn that this plant is in the olive family and sometimes is referred to as a tea olive. And it has a long history of use in culinary and in medicinal herbal medicine, and has a lot of safety around that. So we know that it's really a very non-toxic oil and very safe to use. The scent itself is really, the fragrance is really part of the medicine, as we know in this business, right? We understand that we look at these oils through all these different lenses. And so when we look at the body or the clinical physical uses, one of the things I always ask myself as I take in the fragrance is, where does it move in my body? Where am I feeling the fragrance energetics of it? What is happening with my blood flow, the nerves? Is it something that is going to be opening and expanding, circulating and moving the energy, sinking the energy, rhythmically centering the energy? And I'm curious to hear what everybody else's experience is with this oil, but it was my experience with the fragrance energetics of it was this very much I felt very comforted and soothed. I felt really held, like I wanted to be in this sort of rocking motion, and felt a lot of warmth circulating through my body, and like just a general overall positive emotional shift. And so as we look at this list of things that we know osmanthus is used for, stress and nervous system regulation is definitely one of the things at the top of the list for me. We are in a time of really great and rapid change. And so any of the tools that we have at our fingertips to bring us back to that sense of right now in this moment, I can feel safe and held and soothed. That is really a gift. So hold on to your osmanthus and use it to bring you back home to yourself and your nervous system. Looking at it from a chemistry perspective, we see that osmanthus is high in linalool, and we know that other oils that are high in linalool are like lavender, neroli, clary sage. So this is where we see how osmanthus can be used similarly to those oils for both hormonal balancing, calming the nervous system, and then soothing the skin too, right? We know lavender is really reparative and soothing for the skin. So osmanthus has a long use in traditional medicine for skincare. It's high in a lot of antioxidants and compounds that that scavenge free radicals. So really taking down the free radical content and boosting our antioxidants. So we know that's what damages our skin, is exposure to all these free radicals. So it's bringing down the inflammation in our skin, in our tissues. This is why it's so wonderful in our deep blue blend, is because it decreases inflammation, works as an inflammatory action, antispasmodic, relaxing. So it's great for relieving tension and muscle tension, along with that mental emotional tension. You can really just feel yourself calm and centered. Historically, it has been used to treat bad breath. It can increase saliva, it's deodorizing, and it helps move and clear kind of stagnant, stuck, dry phlegm. Let's see, also in support of the skincare, it hydrates the skin. So I found that it actually works on the lipid layer of the skin. So we have this delicate balance of oils and water fluids in our tissues. And so the lipid layer of our skin is both protective and helps keep our skin plump and, filled out and beautiful looking. So Osmanthus can be really supportive for any sort of skin condition, but particularly protecting your skin against those free radicals like sunburn, aging, and then acne, dark spots, any sort of skin restoration. Well, I'm really interested to hear what other people have to say about this beautiful fragrance and how we can bring it into our practices. I know it's a precious one, so I found myself wanting to use it like on my forehead, on my throat, on my heart, and I found myself using it in a nice infinity sign, and then just really meditating with that and allowing the fragrance to inform all the rest of my cells of what I was wanting to invoke with the fragrance of Osmanthus. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Louise. I just love learning more and more and more about these plants. I also have been wanting to use it on my heart, right here on my third eye, and my pulse points as well. And I wear it daily as a perfume as well. So that's one way that
I just wanted to add something in, which is interesting, Louise, what you said about taking care of bad breath and then the saliva. So then we could, and I bet you, I don't know what Will's going to talk about, but then that means that it could help us with digestion, because if you're having bad breath, we know that the gums are impaired and also the digestive system needs support. So what about rolling it on your belly? Just an idea.
Love that. It would be good for hormonal balance on your belly too. So yeah. Seems like a good belly oil. All right. So for the emotional components of Osmanthus, as we spoke about somewhat already, it's gentle. If you want to cultivate feelings of kindness, gentleness, compassion, it's used often in meditation practices to help center the body and become present in the moment, to feel gratitude, to feel soft, flowing, nurtured, supported, cherished. And it helps us to go more into a yin state, a yielding state, a surrendering state, very feminine energy of this oil. I shared some diffuser blends. If you want to add Osmanthus to your diffuser, you can pop off the top and pour a little bit in. One idea is called Sweet Slice, and it's Osmanthus Touch, and you're going to do 6 drops of that because it's diluted, 2 drops of wild orange, and 2 drops of bergamot. And this blend in particular, I think would be absolutely phenomenal if you're cultivating self-love, confidence, just accepting yourself. That would be just lovely to be diffusing by you as you work or when you're sleeping. And then I'm going to share a little bit. This is from our tried and true emotions book called Essential Emotions, if you don't have it. This is the 13th edition. And I wanted to just share a little bit because this is the newest edition and many people might not have this. And I think it's just so sweet. So this is where the attribute of gentleness came from this book. And I'll just read you a little bit from an excerpt from this. Osmanthus teaches one that you are never truly left alone, that there are unseen arms reaching out, longing to help in times of need. I'm going to read that one more time, that there are unseen arms reaching out and longing to help us in times of need. It invites individuals to open their eyes to angelic mercies ever present in their life and to call upon divine helpers when they need assistance. This oil encourages them to receive the divine love pouring out to one every day and allow it to fill their hearts completely. Osmanthus reminds individuals that their souls are of infinite worth, and that they are cherished and loved by the Creator. And so I just wanted to share that part because in a time where we live, where media cultivates fear and division and duality, what I have found is coming back to a center, returning to love and returning to your spiritual practice is the way through, right? Connection is the way through, not isolation. Softening the heart. There's this beautiful saying that Brene Brown shares, and I believe it's from a martial art practice, and I'm not going to remember it totally verbatim, but it's this idea of having a very strong spine supporting you with a soft heart, right? So you have the support behind you and you're walking through the world, and yet you're compassionate and kind and strong enough to hold that space, right? And so I always find that these oils just pop up in the exact right time. And we have a lot of things going on in our world right now that cause suffering. So bringing that osmanthus, and as Louise mentioned, with the fragrance energetics, the flowers are like being cradled, being rocked by your mother. She was talking about the infinity. And so if you're a person that maybe has a super sensitive nervous system and you need to be comforted or just kind of held more than the average person, or if you're just in a time where you need that, osmanthus would be a beautiful choice to bring in and smell, put on your heart, and and smell it. We shared last call about box breath, right? That's really wonderful for calming anxiety. And if you aren't familiar, it's just breathing in on the count of 4. So you're breathing in through your nostrils, you're holding it for a count of 4, and then you're exhaling for a count of 4, and then you're holding out for a count of 4. So if you ever find that you have some anxiety or nervousness come up, you can smell your osmanthus and do that breath and calm the nervous system. And that completes the emotional part, unless there's anything that anyone wants to add. And I'm going to pass the mic to Mica, and she's going to talk to us about the energetic and spiritual uses of osmanthus. And she shared a perfect quote with us when you sent it.
Right.
It was like, oh, this is just so perfect.
Yeah. Osmanthus. So honestly, I didn't know a lot about osmanthus until I meditated with osmanthus, and after my meditation, I texted Ariana and said, oh my gosh, you intuited. This is such a perfect oil and plant medicine for right now on the planet for all of us. So here's a beautiful poem by Anais Nin, and the title is called Risk. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. And that kind of, for me, explains osmanthus, or how we can be walking in these times where things are expanding and blossoming. And when new things are being born, it's not always comfortable, right? So we can use osmanthus and help us to soften into the growth, just soften within ourselves during this growth time. What also so that was the poem. Isn't it beautiful?
Love it.
Even though it's relaxing, it has this nature of relaxing. It's also uplifting. It's a flower. So the energy is uplifting and relaxing at the same time. So it's not like a sinking, as a mental sinking, or a sinking down far. It's uplifting and relaxing at the same time. Releasing constriction. I release you from constriction. I help release you from constriction within yourself. So if you're feeling tight and constricted, use osmanthus. I know when energy, yeah, Aisha said perfect. I know when things are stressful, I get really focused, and I also get really tight. You could feel it and hear it in my voice when I'm stressed out. And so I'm going to use that. So that is a time to use osmanthus. Or beautiful, like you said. Yes, Aisha.
I don't want to interrupt, but
Do.
I just want to inject, because when you said constriction, I keep kind of going back to this theme of the wood snake and this releasing of the skin and the like constriction of that patterning that I'm feeling so profoundly, this shift into this new year of releasing these like deep, deep, deep patterns in my psyche that aren't needed anymore. And so I love the timing of this, so if anybody else is feeling that same way, and this poem, and just, bringing it all together, and how we use these tools, they're tools to help guide and love and facilitate that process.
Right on. That's what I got. Releasing talons and tendrils that are tethered within you, and inhabits. So all the things that, releasing talons, I mean, like talons, tendrils, untethering.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, because I'm feeling that. Like exactly. It's like that, the release of the karmic and the family patterning, and just the human consciousness. Like it's like it's time for that to shift.
Well, yes, and osmanthus, softening the hardened heart.
Wow.
How about that? Releasing old emotions connected to relationships. Time to use osmanthus to let loose and dissolve the tangles.
I
Isn't
think
that
we need to take a
amazing?
bath in it.
I know. You want me to read that again?
Yeah.
Releasing old emotions connected to relationships. Time to use osmanthus. Let those tangles dissolve. The talons, the tangles.
I just want to say amen. Yes. Let them
Amen. Yes.
go. Let them go. Let that old
Yes.
snake skin that's holding you tight go, right?
Yes. Yeah, Rebecca. She's like, yes, hands. And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit because I got got different channels and points. And I wanted to address that because when I'm meditating with a plant medicine, I'm going to the spirit of the points in that. So the acupuncture points, but I'm gathering information based on connecting to that oil or the plant and connecting with how do you affect the spirit of the points. So there's a whole practice and working with the spirit of the points in Chinese medicine. So I'm working with the spirit of the points, and they have the acupuncture points have 3 levels. It has the spirit, the body, and then the earth in one acupuncture point. I'm going to the spirit of the point, and then also the channel, the spirit of the channel. Okay. So this is how we're going to use Osmanthus. Again, pericardium 6, and I gave Aisha, Ariana, a picture of pericardium 6, but you can look up that easily. Oh, but what really pericardium channel is, pericardium is the heart protector. So remembering about releasing the talons and the constriction in your heart, what's actually, it's actually the pericardium, the sac around the heart, that's the protector and is going to tighten around that heart. So put that Osmanthus around your heart. See, I'm doing it too, that figure 8 infinity sign around your heart. And then also, you don't really have to be specific with knowing exactly where pericardium 6, just rub it on the inside of your arms all the way up, and you will get the pericardium channel. So I got pericardium 6. Oh yeah. Or you could just do the wrist creases, which gets lung, pericardium, heart, just right here. I mean, even rubbing, go ahead and rub that wrist crease right there. It's so nourishing, right? And then you can take, right now, you can take your Osmanthus or Beautiful or Deep Blue, rub it on your wrist crease, and then do this. This is what Dr. Josie does. I learned that from Dr. Josie. It's like such a good way. She's a maximizer, I'm sure. So, okay, let's see if there's anything else. Soften that hardened heart, soften constriction. I even realized when I was working out this morning, when I go to my HIIT class in the morning, I just noticed it because it's so different today, because I was using Osmanthus last night and this morning. Like, I'm just like, I mean, if you know me, I'm like, go, go, go. And today I was still got a great workout. I did the same amount of mileage, but I, how you described it, Louise and Ariana, I felt like I was running, but also really held and less constricted. So that is now going to be my baseline. I know that can feel different for me when I'm in HIIT class. I don't have to get like so you know, to have an effect on my whole body and the nervous system, right?
What a perfect, I mean, we see why it's in deep blue, right?
Yeah.
With such an athlete oil, right? Which is, we can always take a different approach. And sometimes it's that shifting of, oh, I could still work out or push or, you know, have that like strong energy, but it can also be open and open-hearted.
Yeah. One more thing that I got is it's again, it's uplifting, open, but your energy fields are protected. So it's not like your fields are out there too, and then you're just like, you're just vulnerable. It's so not that. It's almost like you're contained and open. Isn't that nice? Softened and open. Because a lot of empaths can are guarded, can be guarded. I know I can be guarded, or I used to be way more guarded because I felt like my energy, I was too vulnerable energetically. So osmanthus is one that it can helps to contain you, and you can soften at the same time. So yes, if this comes around again, please get it, because all of you are sensitive beings, and we could all use to have our fields in and softened at the same time.
Thank you, Mica.
Yeah.
And let's move on. So now Will Wan, who's a licensed acupuncturist, is going to share with us osmanthus from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective.
Thank you so much. So I have the honor to talk about osmanthus from the Chinese medicine perspective. The name itself tells a lot. So gui hua, gui, if you look at the left radical, if you can see it, it can refer to cinnamon, cassia. Gui literally means the plant that is shaped like the ritual jade instrument. And so it is in a similar fashion, it can establish basically a connection to the spirit world. In ancient China, jade as a precious, not a metal, but a mineral, jewelry, but also more specifically in the spiritual notion, jade was regarded as this sort of instrument to connect to the spirit world. So what does that mean? The spirit world in Chinese medicine, we look at Shen, the word spirit. So this first character, or the radical of osmanthus, gui, also represents how in Chinese medicine we look at Tong, Shen. Tong is like pain. Tong is like suffering. Shen is the spirit. So when you look at words that have gui, and that's like guizi or rou gui, is like cinnamon bark, cinnamon twig. There's also rose that has gui hua, but it's mei gui hua. So those types of words mean a lot in Chinese to symbolize how this plant or a plant can work for us in the spiritual sense, mental emotional sense, and the physical sense. So other components that we look at also in just the history of osmanthus is China's national flower. So out of all the flowers, you know, in Asia and China that exists, the Chinese population, Chinese government, et cetera, chose osmanthus to be the national flower. So that goes to show you the history as well of its importance. In ancient China, osmanthus perfume, or the flowers made into perfume, was only reserved for the emperor and or the empress of China. And we look at this importance because the emperor, the empress, is following the mandate of heaven. So this mandate of heaven is this very yin nature, right? Heaven is yin. And so the notion is that these rulers are governing the population, large spaces, obviously, in China, by this way of going by way of heaven. So Osmanthus also can then say, in that regards, if you're looking at it from a symbol way or symbolic way, that Osmanthus can really help to remove any sort of obstruction again that's creating suffering or pain at the spiritual level. So that notion of, we look at in Chinese medicine, like Dr. Mica mentioned, the highest physician deals with the spirit. The sort of second tier physician deals with the mental emotional. And the lowest tiered physician deals with the physical. It's not to mean like there's a higher or better. It's more of when you look at a plant that can work at the spiritual level, that's like the physician that can work at the highest level, or this sort of level of transforming that pain in that's not necessarily even a physical. It can be or cannot of that level. So that's the importance of Osmanthus I wanted to discuss in terms of the historical use in China. It's typically harvested during that mid-autumn time. And so there's a story behind that in Chinese culture, where we have this sort of mid-autumn festival, and it is often to celebrate this so-called story, legend, folklore. But, you know, there's some truth in everything, right? So it's more of this story of that in ancient times, the earth was being going through a lot of chaos. There was 10 suns that were scalding and burning up the earth. And there was an archer that was a hero, so to speak, that then shot 9 of the suns out, leaving 1 sun, so that saved the people of the earth. As a sort of reward, the heavenly goddess, or queen of the skies is the term, rewarded the archer with a number of peaches that would create immortality for the archer or whoever would eat the peach. So the story, anyways, long story short, is that the archer did not want to eat the peaches because he loved his wife and he wanted to stay with his wife. So another story is that the archer's assistant tried to steal the peaches, but the wife ended up eating all the peaches and she became immortal. So out of grief, the archer every year in the autumn time would set aside her favorite meal, her favorite tea underneath the Osmanthus tree. And the queen of the skies felt some compassion and said, why don't you two, even though you are immortal, you can come together on that special time in mid-autumn to meet with each other. And that will be your only time of the year to physically meet. So that's the story of Osmanthus. Again, this importance of this symbolical tree that represents this sort of very spiritual level of working to the highest compassionate level of a human being, to give oneself to love, to give oneself to a space of, again, as we have talked about, opening the heart. But it's not, again, this sort of expanded notion. It's very, it's just forming and solidifying the heart's true nature, which is to be at the helm of our process of thinking, of doing, and so forth. From a Chinese medicine perspective, Osmanthus Guihua is affecting the heart, lung, spleen, and liver. We talked a lot about that. It moves the qi, moves the blood, its so-called flavors, again, can tell a lot. It is bitter, sweet, sour, and it has a very cooling sense. In Chinese medicines, the flavors of sweet and sour construct the yin. It tonifies the yin. Any type of yin substance, the blood, the material nutritive layer of the body, all gets tonified by this sort of combination of sweet and sour that Osmanthus has. The flavor of bitter is descending, but it's also cooling. It's helping to rectify any imbalances. Ultimately, the flavor of bitter is often reserved for those flavors or for those medicinals that affect the heart. So again, very unique component that Osmanthus has. It can dissipate any kind of phlegm. So in Chinese medicine, we use it for that really drier type of cough or phlegm. That's, we call it tannin. Tannin is the component of phlegm. There's a very viscous type of a phlegm, and then there's a very thin type of phlegm. Osmanthus deals more with this very thin layer, thin residual. Oftentimes that's kind of very difficult because you're not expectorating or you're not coughing up a lot of mucus. It's just this drier cough presentation. So Osmanthus is often used for that type of pattern. You have like a dry, hoarse throat or cough. We use it in weak digestive presentations, irregular menstrual cycles, and ultimately, in conclusion, the nature of Osmanthus being again reserved for this so-called emperor, the empress, we can utilize it now as this notion that we all need our emperor or empress of our heart to take the helm with compassion, being more specific to these times. So again, it can, as we all talked about, things that we can help to support these sort of our bodies mentally, physically, spiritually in these times, we can bring out and use them. And thank you very much.
So good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Will.
Hey, Ariana, I just
Yeah.
wanted to say something. And Will, is that we're seeing that in patients, we're seeing that exact cough, that respiratory stridor, that just like hard to expectorate, little bit of cough, not very deep. I mean, it's Osmanthus time. It's an Osmanthus cold that people are presenting with.
Right.
So perfect. I had the big C, and that cough is often following that. And so I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah. So
And
applying topically to these lung points above and below the collarbone, and just kind of getting it in there to, after you apply the any type of blend or the Osmanthus itself can really help with getting that into the lung channel to help restore this sort of balance.
those points right there. I love that too. And I want to remind people, trust your intuition. It's so interesting because I didn't choose them, but when I was getting dressed this morning, I picked up jade earrings to wear. And I was going to wear them. And then my mind came in, and I was like, oh, maybe with my outfit, gold would be better. But when you said, oh, there's this connection to jade, like, I was like, listen to your intuition. So perfect. So I love that inclusion of jade. I was just like, oh, I was feeling that. So So fascinating. And I love, well, thank you for sharing the Chinese words. I am so fascinated, and it adds so much information about the plant when you explain what it is in Chinese. So that's a really beautiful component.
My pleasure.
This made me think of, I never knew why I know the other oils in the beautiful blend, but Osmanthus is there, and I use it every single day, because I use the body mist, the beautiful, so the body mist, which doTERRA's been out of. I don't know if they have it back. I've been, I have one left in my storage. I hope they get it back soon. It's one of my favorite products. But that body mist that has the beautiful blend in it, and it's part of my underarm, whole routine for my lymphatics and for my deodorant. And just knowing more about Osmanthus, I love that. I love that I'm getting a little bit every day. And I had a thought of, a fun thing that I don't know if you guys in the new year, if we have enough single oils left, but some of the master blends of doTERRA, like Deep Blue, and all the originals, wouldn't it be neat with Will's knowledge of blending and Dr. Mica's and all you guys having gone through the singles to start to take and look at some of the original doTERRA blends and talk to get everyone to know better why they're such master blends, why, and I don't know, is there interest in that? I think that would be so interesting to look at digestion, to look at On Guard, to look at Deep Blue, and look at the ingredients in them, talk a little bit about them, and then kind of for everyone to start to realize how incredible these blends are. They're profound formulas.
Yeah,
Such a great idea, Dr. Josie. And Will and I have been working on our compendium of blends and comparing it to patent Chinese formulas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun. We did already 5 formulas, comparing them to single herbs or making our own blends with the formulas. And then sometimes just using the blends, comparing that to the formulas. It's a yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love
Good
it. We
idea.
do have a few calls where we have unpacked some of the blends, so stay tuned for sure. And then just as a reminder too, the Osmanthus is also found in the leave-in conditioner, doTERRA's leave-in conditioner. So if you want to smell that throughout the day, that would be another way to find the Osmanthus. I find the blends that have Osmanthus in, you really notice it. There's a real distinct Osmanthus smell. Maybe the Deep Blue is the hardest for me to find it because of the strong peppermints, and the mints are pretty overpowering when you first smell them. So thank you, everyone. I hope that you're inspired by Osmanthus. To close, I'm going to say goodbye and hand the mic to my sister, Aisha. And we have some really exciting stuff coming up. So I hope you will continue to join us.
Yes, thank you, Ariana, and all of you. I love this call so much. There's always such deep learning and profound wisdom that each of you share, and it's just so nourishing and inspiring. And a couple things that came to my mind as you were talking about these blends is, one, doTERRA perfectly creates these blends so we can trust that we might not understand all the oils in them or know all the oils in them, but we can trust that they're bringing that together in a synergistic and therapeutic way that these oils are delivering. So I want to point that out. The next thing I want to bring attention to is it is really incredible that Dr. Mica and Will are, creating and using these blends and oils in their practice. But I also want to remind each of you and empower each of you to use your own wisdom, your own experience, and your own inner knowing of what oils you need. Because the oils really do, when you pause and listen and sit with them, and Mica talks about how to do this in her book that she has, your body will know. And maybe it doesn't know all the ins and outs of all the things it does, but your body will know. So just you can begin to ask yourself, what oil do I need right now in this moment? And listen and trust that. And the more that you do that, the more you can, access that for yourself. So I just want to remind you that you all hold that same wisdom in your own beings, and you don't need a doctor degree in order to call upon that in your meditation practice and your prayer practice. You can sit with an oil and call upon that wisdom from that plant. I'm going to bring Marty on because she's going to be leading. Actually, she's kind of going to be leading the next two calls, and they're really super special. So Marty, would you come on and talk a little bit more what we have coming up?
Sure. So next Monday, I'm excited to introduce you to a couple of my team leaders in the Into Oils team and Inspiration Nation team that have been involved in the last year and way beyond that. But particularly in this last year, they've been really successful at introducing doTERRA to other people. And they've done it in very, very different ways. And so I really hope that if you have an interest in maintaining and growing the business that you have, if you have a business in doTERRA, if you're earning any income with doTERRA, or you're curious about it, I hope that you'll join us next week to learn a little bit about their stories, because through those stories, this is how we end up really creating our own path, just as Aisha just talked about with the selection of oils that we choose. This is how we choose our path for business. And it's going to be a very conversational call, a discussion call. Really would appreciate your support in listening in if this is something that interests you. The following Monday, we have a very special guest, and I really hope this is what I call all hands on deck. So this is where you call and contact everyone you know that has been involved in doTERRA or might be interested in it, where Dr. Hill is going to be coming on our call, and I'm going to be interviewing him really specifically about a topic that I think is relevant for the general masses. Some of you are physicians and specialists in different fields, but we're all human beings, and we all have families, and we have kids, and we have neighbors, and we have friends. And I love to have Dr. Hill talk to us at that level. This is not going to be a science talk, guys. This is going to be a how to use which oils for what reasons. And my personal focus for him has been to ask him to address oils that help us support our immune response. And that's a big topic, but because we all have a big collection of oils, it's going to be helpful to hear him talk about the way he does this, what he uses on a daily basis, what he suggests when friends and family run into immune challenges, because this isn't just about, the seasonal stuff that pops up. This is more about the ongoing need for all of us to continue to keep our strength in the immune arena. And I think it's a common need that everybody has. I think it's a topic we can all share with others. And this leads me to the whole idea again that this isn't just for our amazing wisdom, which I've taken like tons of notes today. Thank you all so much as I do. But really, how do we then take this out and help make a difference in this world, whether we do it as part of a business or we just do it out of love? It doesn't matter. Both can be both the same, right? It can be one or both. And I feel like it's time for us to all spread the good word of what plant medicines can do for us and what these essential oils, the power that they have. So when we get out of our heads and back into the fundamentals that are what most people need to know, I think this is where Dr. Hill is such a master communicator. And whether we learn something new or we hear how he says it, we all can learn something. And I really hope, again, you'll spread the word and get everybody to show up. I want to have a massive turnout for him. This is really something unique and special for all of us. So anyway,
yes,
that's what I have.
Please join us live, because we want to show Dr. Hill so much love. And on a logistical level, we do have an Instagram page. It's Visionary Leaders Community. And I post the call information there every week. We also have it in the Essential Wellness Community events. I know that Marty, are you posting that in your group as well? It goes out in our newsletters. You are welcome to grab the memes and the call information and share that on your own channels. And so you can put it in your Instagram. You could go to the Visionary Leaders community and share to your stories. So you're welcome to use that media to help with your inviting if that is helpful. Just want you all to know that that is there for you to have access to. So thank you so much. Beautiful call. I'm going to go take a bath in Osmanthus. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye-bye.